Welcome to BevCam's production of Conversation with the Candidates. My name is John Maihos, your host for this segment, and we'll be talking today with Dave Manzi. David is a candidate for mayor. Welcome.
Hey,
Thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. To begin, I'd just like you to take a few minutes and tell us about your personal self, education, family, career, anything else you'd like to put in there.
Born and raised in Beverly. I live currently in Ralside. I grew up in North Beverly. My father ran a large construction company for many years, so the Manzi name is fairly well known in the community. I've been in my house in Ralside now for the past 30 years. My wife, I married Noreen Cataldo, who's a 1970 Beverly High School graduate. We have one daughter, my daughter Candace, who's just turned 30 this past summer, who's working on her second master's degree. I guess that sums up my family status.
Why are you running for mayor?
I believe Beverly taxpayers need some protection. This middle school project, I feel, is over the top. This was a project that started at $33 million by Mayor Scanlon. Just 4 years ago, in 2011, it was brought to the school committee as a $33 million project. By the end of 2011, he had goosed up this project to $40 million. So at $40 million, and when he came to us as a school committee, being a school committee member, and I'm in my 10th year on the Beverly School Committee, when he came to us in 2011 and presented this 4-year plan for $33 million, and then eventually towards the end of the year said it would be a $40 million project, and that's all documented in conversations that he had with Salem Review News. When you compare it against the high school that we opened just in 2010 at $81 million, that seemed more than a very reasonable project. So as a school committee member, I was all ears. If you can build a 4-year school, and they were targeting the Memorial property as a remodel addition for $40 million by the end of 2011 when he came forward with that to us, I was very much listening. By 2013, his last year in office, it went to $73 million. So at $73 million, the number kept getting closer and closer to the Beverly High School number, which we had just bonded for, over $30 million was our share. And that share was fairly close to 58% that the state kicked in. So we were going 42%, state was kicking in 58% for the high school project. When Mayor Scanlon came forward with this middle school project, what whet our appetite was that he was claiming that he felt that the state would contribute 60%. So with 60%, 40%, a low-cost project like that at just $40 million, at the time, as I said, by the end of his last term, when it went to $73 million, it was getting very close to the cost of the high school project, and I started getting a little leery in regards to where this project was going at that time. My problem began, in February this year, in regards to this middle school project. Mayor Cahill was in office for just 11 months, and being a member of the middle school building committee, it was presented to us at $123 million, this project. So here's a project that started in 2011 at $33 million, and now it's being presented to us at $123 million. I mean, that was outrageous. Outrageous. That's over 65% increase, versus, his highest number at $73 million. Never mind at the $33 million and the $40 million that was presented back in 2011. So as far as I was concerned, this project was massively out of control, and there needed to be pushed off the table and an alternative project put in its place. Beverly taxpayers have been under nothing but stress for 2.5 decades. We've seen our taxes continue to go up, the maximum state levies allowed by law. So 2.5 decades of seeing the maximum state levies allowed by law, our taxes going up. And then to have this project presented to us less than 5 years after we bonded over $30 million, which is the largest project in Beverly's history at that point. The city council, all right, just rubber stamped recently, all right, an appropriation of money on a $60.2 million bond. That's almost twice as much as the high school project. And the high school project, as I said, that high school has been open less than 5 years. And we're going to pick up this type of debt. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for the taxpayers of this city. I am running to give the taxpayers of this city some protection that they deserve. The fact of the matter is that the project is out of control. It's too large of a project even for that memorial site. It's cost knocking the memorial building down. So you have excessive cost to this project, knocking the memorial building down, not using our newest elementary school as an elementary school, the McEwen School. Now, they sold this to the MSBA. They sold this to the MSBA based on the fact, all right, that we didn't have enough room in our elementary schools. How could that be true? Our newest elementary school, 1,000 yards away from our memorial, which we're using as an administration building, hasn't been used, all right, since 2008. And why? Because the city did not have the money to operate it in 2008. This city has a reputation of not having money to invest in what's ever necessary at that time. 3 years before that, we had to consolidate 2 middle schools into one at Briscoe. We had to close Memorial. We moved our administration offices in there, and we squished, all right, at that time about 900 students, all right, into Briscoe, all right, where today there's about 1,000 students there. So, you know, when you take a look at this, and my biggest problem with this $60.8 million bond that the city council rubber stamped, not one dime of interest has been disclosed on this project. All right? Over the term of this 28-year bond, the taxpayers of this city will be paying over $114 million for this middle school project. That is absolutely ridiculous, over $114 million. How can anyone that has lived in this city for any period of time think that the city could afford this? Drive down any city street. Yeah, we have some projects going on in this city. When you take a look at some of the things that are happening, we're going to have a Route 1A project, but that's a state project. All right, that project started 20 years ago. The side streets, all right, in any state-controlled streets, not that city-controlled streets, in this city are a disgrace. We are millions and millions and millions of dollars behind on what needs to be done on these streets. North Beverly, traffic congestion, that should be a priority in this city, all right? Looking at what's taking place on Dodge Street, you can't even get off of Route 128 in the morning or in the afternoon. Stay away from that Henry's Market area. We need to look at alternatives, ways that we can either build a bypass road or build other exits off of 128 that divert traffic into other areas of 128. Where Bomac used to be in Varian, currently off of 128, there used to be an exit there years ago, all right? And there's a way that if, in fact, we could open up that area, we could divert cars to the Toza Road area in a different area of North Beverly.
We'll hit us on a lot of those other topics as well, and I'd like to ask a few other questions. Primarily, right now, for the people who aren't familiar with you, what would you say your management style is?
Very direct, as you just witnessed. Very direct, all right? People will know where I stand, all right? What I say is what I mean.
What do you think is your qualification to be the chief executive of the city?
Well, I mean, quite simply, all right, 10 years on the Beverly School Committee. From 1998 to 2005, I was on Bishop Ellick's advisory board and board of trustees. I have 20 years of corporate management experience, 10 years in the financial industry. I've been a licensed teacher since 1975, and I'm former dean of students at Pope John High School. I have a very, very diverse work background, very diverse work background.
You've already mentioned a few of the things, but if you could tell us what the most pressing issues are that face Beverly, and what would be top of your agenda if elected?
Middle school project. That needs to be pushed off the table, all right? And we need to put a new plan on. I have a 2-year plan. My plan makes sense. It makes sense for the taxpayers of this city, all right? The first thing I'm going to do is preserve that memorial building. That is a rock-solid building made of real brick. brick built. As a matter of fact, our original high school downtown was built, all right, in the 1800s, all right? It's been a high school, all right? It's been a junior high school, all right? It has been the former North Shore Community College, all right? Today it's it's an assisted living center, all right? That building still exists downtown, and that's after a major fire ripped through the entire structure, all right? It's a solid brick building, no different than Memorial. It's a solid brick building. That building can last for decades and decades and decades. So with my plan, all right, that building is preserved. We use it as a early childhood center with pre-K kindergarten administration offices, and we preserve our EEC program. It's a special program for gifted students that go there, all right? My plan calls for, all right, moving 6th graders out of the middle school into an elementary model. And I'm able to do that by reopening McEwen as an elementary school. So Beverly goes from 5 elementary schools to 6 elementary schools, all right? That eliminates overcrowding immediately. Immediately. As a matter of fact, my estimate is that we'll have, right now, we'd have 10 extra classrooms at the elementary level if we were to go to my plan tomorrow. Not only that, all right, Beverly High School, which in its heyday, when it was a high school, before the high school that was knocked down already on this campus that was opened in 1965, Beverly High School used to house over that Briscoe building that exists today, that we have 1,000 students in, used to house over 1,500 students back in its heyday when it was a high school. It's a huge building. So going to my plan immediately, all right, by only having 7th and 8th graders, we would have 600-odd students in there. Students would be getting lost in the corridors. So with my plan, if we went to that tomorrow and redistrict to 6 elementary schools, all right, we would have absolutely no overcrowding. Briscoe, as I said, students would have so much room there presently, they'd be getting lost in the corridors. Elementary schools, the 6, would have additional classrooms that wouldn't even be need to be used at this point in time, so we have room for growth. The Memorial Building, all right, would be housing pre-K kindergarten. What safer place to put your preschoolers and kindergartens in today's day and age? With Columbine in Newtown, Connecticut, and all these shootings and everything else that we hear today, all right, to include, all right, these younger kids in the building that is housing our administration offices. I would put together a plan immediately to put a 2-year high school on this high school campus to the rear. To the rear of this high school, we have a 3.5-acre site back there that is surrounded by woods, all right? That 3.5-acre site could easily, all right, hold a school at 125,000 square feet, if even in fact that was needed, all right? My school could be built at a reasonable price for the taxpayers of this city, all right? I'm estimating anywhere from $45 to $50 million tops for a state-of-the-art school for 7th and 8th graders. St. John's Prep just opened a building in September, all right? That particular building, all right, was 74,000 square feet, all right? $22 million, $22 million. So let's double that, all right, to 148,000 square feet, $44 million, all right? These things can be done. Anyone that says this can be done is not telling the truth to the taxpayers of Beverly. It's as simple as that. Yeah. They are not telling the truth. Stoneham, less than a year ago, opened up a school, a middle school, all right, for almost 800 students. $40 million. So the proof's in the pudding, all right? Stoneham, almost 800 students, $40 million. St. John's Prep, all right? A stone's throw away from us in Beverly here, all right? 74,000 square feet, $22 million. And as I said, double it. My school would be 20% less in size for that because it would be for 2 grades simply, all right? So people that say that this can't be done, they are lying to the taxpayers of this city, and that is not right. And the city council, forget it.
You've talked an awful lot about money, finances, and all, and we always hear the phrase fiscal responsibility. What does fiscal responsibility mean to you?
Fiscal responsibility starts when you take the largest project in the city's history, all right? That they just bonded and rubber stamped a bond, all right, for $60.8 million, which is going to cost the taxpayers over $114 million in this city. That's fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility is spending, all right? It's spending taxpayer dollars, money like it's your money, like it's your money. How can you look at what has been built around us and say that this is fiscally responsible when you're going to knock down the memorial building? You're not going to use our newest elementary school in this city that was closed in 2008 as an elementary school and use as the main reason that we need to put fifth graders into a middle school model. When Beverly, all right, I have a report that just came out, all right, from the Beverly Student Health Survey, 2014 and 15, all right. This shows, all right, that Beverly Middle School students bullied at school. This report shows 34.7%. Do you know what the average is in this state? 16.6%, all right? That's over double the average that this is showing. All right here in Beverly, and we're going to add fifth graders to a middle school model when we see that going on, and this is based on a survey of seventh and eighth graders, all right, in our middle schools. We know, and this report shows, because it was a high school survey as well, and it shows in the lower grades, seventh grade, the bullying percentages were the highest, and they decreased as you get to senior year. And we're going to add fifth graders to this. This shows that that would be absolutely insanity.
What do you think the critical factors are in balancing the budget, though? What are the leverage points?
It's debt. Debt. It's all about debt, all right? You don't spend money that you don't have, all right? It's all about debt, all right? It's no different than running your home, all right? If you can afford a Toyota Corolla, you don't go out and buy, you know, some type of, you know, Cadillac, all right, or Mercedes, or some top-of-the-line car, all right? You just don't do that, all right? And you utilize things within your household that make sense, all right? If it doesn't call for, you know, completely destroying your kitchen, you do a remodel of your kitchen that makes sense, all right? So running a city is no different than running your household. And the problem with this middle school project in this city, all right, goes with the fact that, all right, the city has to show the MSBA that the city can afford this, and I believe the city has underprojected what their expenses are. They're showing revenues, all right, at the top, all right, where taxpayers will be taxed at the top tax levy allowed by law, and they've underprojected, all right, expenses, all right, and some of the expenses that they've underprojected, all right, on their estimates are salaries, wages, and expenses at 1.5%. They think they're going to be able to hold that through 2023 at 1.5%. Highly unlikely. Property casualty insurance at 3%. We already know the state has already come out and said that there's a likelihood that we'll see a 10% increase in this year alone. All right? Health insurance at 2%. What's the likelihood to hold that over the course of the next 8 years at 2%? Highly unlikely.
It might work in right, because I was going to ask you what you thought the top 2 or 3 budget issues are for the city over the next couple of years.
What's going to happen is this: with projections at the tax levy at the highest rate and under projecting expenses like this, it's going to put us in a position, a 2.5 override position. It'll either be, we'll be back in 2005 and 2008, all right, where we had to close or consolidate schools, all right? That's what will happen, because there'll be nowhere to go. Once you can't draw any money and you're already taxing the general public at the highest levy there is, where do you go? There's only one way you go. You go the route of Hamilton and Wenham, you go the route of Marblehead, you go the route of Ipswich, all right? And that is consistent after consistent Proposition 2.5 override initiatives, all right? In the first place, all right, they're going to say is, oh, we're going to have to cut back on schools, because we've done it in the past. We've done it in the past with our consolidations. That is just a short while ago. That's not something that just, you know, that happened decades ago. We're talking 2005, 2008, all right? In 2011, the school department didn't even have enough money, all right, to have a personnel director. We had to eliminate a personnel director because we didn't even have enough money in 2011 for a personnel director and for the schools. I mean, so if monies are not allocated appropriately, all right, and this $60.8 million bond that's going to cost the taxpayers, all right, over the term of the bond, over $114 million, how much stress do you think that's going to put on the yearly budget?
I want to talk about development in the city, too. And before that, I jump into that, I know we're running short on time, but I'd like you to tell me a little bit about what you think of the pilot program, which for our viewers is the payment in lieu of taxes agreement that some nonprofits have.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example, all right, how Mayor Cahill has done what I consider the ridiculous. All right, he just got the school committee. I was the only elected official that voted against this. All right, he got the school committee and the city council to rubber stamp. All right, a solar initiative that's going to take that entire back parking lot, which used to house A house, B house, and C house. All right. And that whole area back there, all right, is going to be covered with solar panels, all right, like carports, creating a huge amount of cover. You're looking at a 5-acre parcel of land back there, all right, that is in pristine condition right now, that can be monitored for security purposes just by looking out a window to see what's going on in that parking lot. In consideration of what's happened at Columbine and Newtown, it happens every day that we listen to the radio or look at TV, all right, listen to any form of news, we're seeing all kinds of bizarre types of things happening on school campuses. So getting back in lieu of taxes, where I believe we should have done in that type of thing, instead of sacrificing the security on this campus, which you already know it's going to be a security problem because they're going to be installing security cameras, they're even going to provide a golf cart. Wait a minute, a golf cart? A few years ago, we used to have 4 hall monitors in this high school where we sit right now. And because of lack of money, we had to cut back to 2 hall monitors, all right? So who's going to be looking at these security cameras to see, if something crazy is going on in that parking lot? Who's going to be driving around in that golf cart, all right, to see what's, who's hiding in one of these carports, all right? So what I'm saying, in lieu of taxes, in a situation like this, we should have gone to nonprofits and said, okay, in lieu of taxes, we would like to put solar panels on your property, whether it's on your roof or in some acreage of your property that's not being used, all right, that it could have gone right into the city's grid, all right, instead of sacrificing security on this campus. So things like that could be initiated where it's really no money directly out of their pocket, all right? And that's the problem when you're dealing with nonprofits. Nonprofits many times are barely just getting by on their own. I mean, look at Montserrat College of Art downtown. All right, they're on the verge of who knows what. They tried to consolidate with Salem State. Salem State, it was too expensive a proposition for them. All right, if we lose Montserrat College downtown, all right, that'll be a big blow to all the various businesses down there. Those students provide a lot of support to the businesses down there. So you take something like these nonprofits, they sacrifice some space on their roofs or in parts of their campus that they're not using. In lieu of taxes, we're picking up energy for the city of Beverly. Those are the types of things, to me, that make sense for everybody.
Tell me about the 128 project. You'll probably be involved with that because it will be going on. What have you learned from what's happened in the past few months?
Well, I've learned that the coordination of this particular project, I think, is going to be a disaster come this winter. All right, we know that the roundabouts and things of that nature aren't going to be done in time. So the residents of Brimble Ave in that particular area, all right, because of lack of foresight or the lack of pushing, all right, this project forward, all right, fast enough is going to create a lot of havoc up in that particular area. And I don't agree with the retail project that was allowed up there. All right, and I have no, I guess, reservation in regards to utilizing that, all right, and protecting our tax base, all right, but I didn't believe that we needed another supermarket in that particular area.
What needs to be done to develop the waterfront? How high a priority should it be?
It should be a #1 priority. Instead of me paying off on debt, all right, or interest on debt, all right, where our taxpayer money's going to go, the first thing that I would do is I would rehab that McDonald's building or knock it to the ground and put a structure, that motif, a New England type of motif structure down there. I would sublet it to an ice cream stand, a food stand, boat rental, restrooms. I'd open up that park area down there for the general public, all right, to enjoy that area. Provide parking, open up walking paths. I see the waterfront like this. I see our waterfront no different than the Plymouth waterfront, where they have the Mayflower too. I would get an investor group down there. I'd put the Hanner, I'd build a replica of the Hanner down in that waterfront. I'd open up walking paths no different than a Gunkwit, Maine does, and I'd get access to some of the mansions in Beverly Farms, no different than Newport, Rhode Island. All right? Beverly could be a destination, all right, for tourists, no different than Salem, all right? But if we're going to foolishly put this city in debt, all right, over $114 million to the taxpayers to build a school, that makes absolutely no sense when we have better alternatives, then you'll never have an opportunity to do that type of thing on the waterfront. I could take just additional cash that this city has that the taxpayers technically have been overtaxed. That's how we developed this free cash. Free cash is because of, our revenues are more than our expenses.
New police and fire station. What do you think of that?
We need a new police station. That police station's a disgrace. All right, that new central fire station is necessary. But when you're spending money that you don't have on projects such as this middle school, how do you ever get there? You don't get there. All right, we'll be talking about this for the next 50 years. All right, at the rate that we're going. All right, but if in fact our monies are spent appropriately, we can get to those things in a reasonable period of time. That is something that I would immediately, look at how we could implement that within a very reasonable short period of time. That harbor area, though, I guarantee you, with free cash that we have available, we could go down there immediately and clean that place up and make it a destination for people down there, and then work on, as I said, those other ideas that I had.
You have
down
about
there.
30 seconds to tell me about the airport. What would you think about for development at the airport?
My biggest problem with that airport is that the city council just appropriated $300,000, to renovate a building for the offices, the city offices. We're moving out of Memorial. Have you seen that building?
I have.
It's a disgrace, That building is a disgrace, For us to go down there and invest $300,000 in that building, and we're not blinking an eye about knocking down the Memorial Building, that anyone that's been in there, will tell you, that building looks as good as it did decades ago.
We have about 2 minutes left, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to make a 2-minute closing statement.
Okay. In April of this year, I took out papers to run for mayor. At this time, it became quite evident to me the taxpayers of Beverly were being ripped off and led down a path of financial disaster. Less than 5 years ago, Beverly bonded over $30 million for a new high school. Now, for Mike Cahill's middle school project, Beverly will bond almost 2 times the amount at $60.8 million, which amounts to over $114 million with interest on the backs of Beverly taxpayers, which they're oblivious to. A project that started just 4 years ago by Mayor Scanlon at a total cost of $33 million, with the state paying 60% and the city 40%, has reversed itself, with the city paying the higher portion because Mayor Cahill has failed to manage the design phase efficiently. This design could never be justified for what Beverly taxpayers are being told they have to pay today. Mike Cahill claims there is a shortage of classroom space for students at the elementary level, justifying the need to move 5th graders to a middle school model. This simply is not true. How could it be true when McEwen closed in 2008 is not being used as an elementary school? The Manzi school plan immediately eliminates overcrowding and respects taxpayer dollars. First, it preserves Memorial. The building under my plan becomes an early childhood center and houses administration offices. At the elementary level, I reopen McEwen. The district would now have 6 schools reconfigured to grades 1 through 6. At the middle school, I changed to 2 grades 7 and 8 model to be built on the high school campus similar to Masconomet, the most respected district on the North Shore. My superior educational model saves Beverly taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. If I'm elected, I'll stop Cahill's middle school project first day in office. If this project is not stopped, Beverly taxpayers are doomed to maximum tax levies allowed by law in a future Proposition 2.5 override initiatives. Please consider voting for me. I'll protect Beverly taxpayers using their money like it was my own.
It's about all the time we have. I'd like to thank our guest, David Manzi, who's running for mayor. Thank you very much for joining us.
John, it's been my pleasure.
My name is John Maihos, and on behalf of BevCam, thanks for joining us.